I think you're going to notice here over the next day or two a concern on our side of the aisle on supporting these budgets or this overall budget. And I think when you look at the totality of the budget and the situation and where we've been and where we are, it makes a lot of sense on why we are not supporting the budget. I want to remind everybody in this building and that's listening and in this chamber that when we have worked together with a common goal of getting things done, this chamber has been fairly successful in recent history. We tackled the unemployment tax situation. We passed, under the direction and leadership of Patty Belloc, significant Medicaid reform. We passed just recently the leadership of Darlene Sanger and Elaine Neckritz pension reform. We worked together to pay old bills in last year's blueprint, and we passed an education reform bill a number of years ago. All that you would argue would put us in a better place as a state. But when it comes to spending, and when you are left to your own devices and seemingly have an interest...
Mr. Cross, let me see if I can get it a little more peaceful for you.
No, that's all right. I'm going to clear the record.
Let's pay some attention to the minority leader. Please proceed, sir.
Well, thank you very, very much. When it comes to spending, Mr. Speaker, the willingness to work with us goes by the wayside. And that is unfortunate, because at the end of the day, when this budget is tallied up and put together, and when we have an ability to examine it in one piece, you will see spending increase by almost $2 billion. That is a $2 billion increase from the 2013 budget. And what is equally troubling is that, by all accounts, from the people that should know, we will have, specifically Judy Bar-Topinka, almost $7.5 billion in unpaid bills when the end of the 2013 budget year ends. We had $7.5 billion, if not more, bills at the end of last year's budget, and we will be in roughly the same position as we were last year when we get through with your budget. Clearly, we're not going in the direction that we need to go if we are going to either get our bills paid, if we intend to get our bills paid, and if we intend to do away with the tax increase. Now, nobody on this side of the aisle has shied away from the things that we need to do. We have told you those things in all the working group meetings. We sent a letter to the Speaker on February 21st, along with the President of the Senate and the Governor, and said, there's some areas here in 2013 that have to be addressed. We did a SMART Act bill dealing with Medicaid reform that contemplated $1.6 billion in Medicaid savings. To date, we're probably short about $500 million. We brought that up repeatedly. We sent a letter. We've talked about it on the floor. And to date, nothing has happened. We talked about pension reform several years ago. We talked about it a year ago. We've talked about it today. Now, this House did some action on pension reform, but do we have a bill on the governor's desk? No. Will we have a bill on the governor's desk? That's anybody's guess. But until we do pension reform and fully implement the Medicaid reform, we will continue to be in this vicious circle of trying to go somewhere with an inability to go anywhere because of our inability to get a grasp on pensions, on Medicaid, and the insatiable appetite of spending money we don't have. It happens time and time again. So, Mr. Speaker, I found it interesting that last week we were disinvited to the working group meetings. And it occurs to me that we were disinvited because your side of the aisle refuses to put a lid on spending, refuses to push the governor on the implementation of the SMART Act, refuses to push the Senate president to call the real pension reform bill, refuses to hold the line on spending. So yes, we want to work with you. We're willing to work with you. We've demonstrated an ability to work with you, a willingness to work with you, but we are not going to sit here and support bills on the budget side, the budget implementation bills, that increase spending by almost $2 billion. When you have $7.5 billion in unpaid bills, to increase spending by $2 billion is unacceptable. So for those reasons, and I'm sure you'll hear many others, Mr. Speaker, we will be on this bill, and I suspect on the others, voting no. Thank you.